Want to be part of the stories? Join my Patreon, and I'll draw you or two characters of your choice as part of the horror universe I create. With exclusive rewards like shoutouts and custom art, you'll directly support the channel while becoming a unique part of the content. Check out the tiers and join the community today.
I'm not sure why I'm even posting this. Maybe I just need to get it off my chest, even though I know no one's going to believe me. Hell, I can barely believe it myself, and I lived through it. My name's Matt, and this is about Emily. My Emily. Emily and I had been together for about 5 years. She was that kind of person who could just light up a room without even trying. I don't know how else to explain it. She was good in a way I never was. Always wanting to explore new places, meet new people, push the boundaries of her comfort zone. That's why I wasn't surprised when she told me she wanted to go backpacking across Europe alone. She said it was something she had to do for herself, and though every part of me hated the idea, I didn't want to be the controlling boyfriend. So, I let her go. We stayed in touch as much as possible at first. Texts, photos, calls. She'd send me pictures of these breathtaking landscapes, ancient buildings, and markets where she'd bargain for little trinkets. I'd joke that she should buy one for our future place, and she'd laugh, saying we'd need more than a shelf for all the memories she was making. But after a while, the messages slowed down. The calls became less frequent. At first, I didn't think much of it. She was traveling, meeting new people, and probably just caught up in the experience. But then, there was nothing. 3 days of complete silence. I sent her message after message. Nothing. I called her. It would just ring and ring. I went to the police, but they brushed me off. She's probably just out of range, they said, or she might have lost her phone. They didn't understand. Emily wasn't like that. She'd never just disappear without telling me. I started to panic, and that's when I made the worst decision of my life. I couldn't stand just sitting around doing nothing, waiting for the police to take it seriously. So, I started looking into things myself. I stayed up late every night, scrolling through forums, trying to find anyone who had heard or seen anything about her. I reached out to every travel blog she had ever mentioned, messaged people who had been in the same areas, but it was like she'd vanished into thin air. That's when I found it. The dark web. I didn't go there looking for help. I just wanted something to take my mind off the growing dread inside me. I'd read about it before, this secret part of the internet where people could find all kinds of messed up stuff. Drugs, hitmen, black market organ sales. I didn't care about any of that. I just needed to not think about Emily for a while. I wish I had never found it. I wish I had stayed far away. I can't even remember how I stumbled on the link. It was buried in some forum I was mindlessly scrolling through, just trying to distract myself from the nightmare my life had become. It was titled The Necklace. Something about it made me click. I don't know why. Maybe it was just morbid curiosity. Maybe deep down, I was looking for a way to punish myself for failing to protect Emily. When the page loaded, I felt my stomach drop. It was a live stream. Grainy, dark, but I could make out enough. There was a woman tied to a chair in the middle of the screen. At first, I didn't recognize her. The lighting was bad, and she was slumped over, her hair a mess, covering her face. But then she lifted her head. I froze. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My entire world shattered in that moment. Emily, my Emily, was alive, but she looked so scared, so broken. Her eyes were wide with terror, darting around like she was expecting something horrible to happen at any second. She tried to scream, But her voice was muffled, and then I saw why. The collar. It wasn't just any collar. It was a thin, razor-sharp wire that glistened under the dim light, wrapping so tightly around her neck that it had already begun to cut into her skin. Blood trickled in thin lines down her throat, soaking into the collar of her shirt, a small but constant stream, as if her life was slowly draining away. The screen flickered, and a masked man appeared beside her. His grin was clear beneath the mask's shadows, his whole body radiating with cruel excitement. He walked slowly around Emily, like he was inspecting a prize animal, his fingers lightly tracing the wire. I wanted to reach through the screen and tear him apart, but all I could do was watch as he stood there, making sure the tension in the wire was just right. "This is the game," he said, his voice a distorted mechanical growl that made my skin crawl. "Welcome to the necklace. The rules are simple. For every donation, the collar tightens. The more you pay, the closer she comes to losing her life. Let's see how generous our audience can be, shall we?" Before I could even blink, the first donation came in. A small amount, maybe $50. The collar clicked, the wire pulling tighter with a soft whir, slicing into Emily's neck. She winced, her body jerking in the chair as more blood welled up from the fresh cut. I could see the agony in her eyes as she fought to stay still, but the pain was written across her face in every tremble, every shallow breath. And then the flood started. Another 100. Then 200. The numbers on the screen ticked up rapidly, and with every beep, the wire dug in deeper. The collar wasn't tightening all at once. It was slow, deliberate, torturous. Each click of the wire made it slice just a little more into her flesh, peeling away layers of skin, cutting through muscles, blood pouring out in thick streams. The small trickle had turned into rivers of crimson, running down her neck, soaking her chest, pooling beneath her chair. Her gasps for air turned into panicked wheezes, her lips trembling as she tried to suck in breath through the pain. I could hear her gurgling, choking on the blood pooling in her throat as the wire cut deeper and deeper. The chat was going insane. "Tighter," one person typed. Another message flashed. "I want to see her choke." People were writing out long comments about how beautiful the blood looked as it dripped down her body. I screamed at the screen, "Stop, please, she's dying." But the donations only sped up. 500. 1,000. It was like people couldn't get enough of it. They were throwing money into this twisted, bloody spectacle just to see Emily suffer more. And she was suffering. God, was she suffering? Each donation came with its own fresh horror. The collar would click, tighten, and then there'd be a slight delay before the next twist. It was like the wire was savoring its task, sinking into her slowly, methodically, inch by agonizing inch. By now, the skin on her neck had peeled back so far that you could see the raw red flesh beneath, glistening with blood. Tendons and muscle fibers strained under the pressure, fraying like a rope being pulled apart one strand at a time. Her screams, when she could still make them, were hoarse and broken, muffled by the blood and the wire's chokehold. But the worst part was her eyes. They were locked on the camera, wide and pleading. She knew I was watching. She knew there was nothing I could do to stop it. At one point, I saw her lips move. She tried to say my name, but nothing came out but a bubbling gasp. The collar had crushed her windpipe, her breath barely a ragged whisper now. Her whole body convulsed in the chair, jerking violently as the blood loss started to take its toll, her skin growing pale and clammy. Then, a message appeared on the screen, $5,000 to see her finished. I'll never forget the way the masked man's head snapped toward the camera, his eyes lighting up like a predator who'd finally cornered its prey. He walked slowly around her again, fingers dancing along the wire as it buzzed and tightened once more. Emily's body jerked hard in the chair, her back arching as the wire dug even deeper, now cutting into the muscles around her throat. I could see the white glint of bone beneath the blood, her vertebrae exposed as the wire cut through the remaining tendons. And then the final donation came in. It was massive, tens of thousands. I heard the collar snap as it pulled one last time, tightening so fast that her head jerked forward, her neck snapping with a loud crack. Blood sprayed across the screen in a gruesome arc, splattering the camera, turning the entire feed into a blurry crimson mess. The chat went wild, donations flooding in faster than ever, people cheering, laughing, asking for more. But all I could see was Emily slumped forward in the chair, her body limp, her head hanging by the thinnest thread of skin. Her once beautiful face was drenched in blood, her eyes dull and lifeless, staring at nothing. The screen flickered, and everything went dark. I sat there, shaking, unable to process what I had just seen. My mind was racing, my heart pounding, but I couldn't move. The world around me felt distant, unreal, like I was trapped in some horrible nightmare I couldn't wake up from. And then, just when I thought it was over, a final message appeared on the screen. You can still keep her forever, for a price. That's where it ends. I can't even describe what I'm feeling right now. Emily's gone, and it's my fault. I should have done more. I should have found her before she got wrapped up in that hell. Now, every night, I hear the clicks. The sound of the collar tightening, the wire cutting through her neck, the sickening cheer of the crowd. I'm scared to turn on my computer again. Because what if? What if that offer is still there,